afraid of it in the first game. We'll see if that does change up here as the Elise is banned off the table and no Thresh for Aphromoo. So you're seeing like these, and I feel like Thresh was actually banned in the previous game as well. I think
that's something I was going to touch on, was the fact that there were a fair amount of actual support bans in that game. I think there was a Malzahar ban. There might have been a Karma ban as well. So
I know there was Zyra in phase 2.
Yeah, so there was a lot of support bans, and those are actually really important in the laning phase. We were saying how it might even be more important than the actual AD carry matchup. So if Phoenix1 is a little concerned about the bot lane, it's almost easier to target the supports.
They banned Varus as well, even though they were one item Varus. But like, I really like the Thresh ban, right? You don't want to put Aphromoo on a comfortable champion that he can snowball with, which is specifically Thresh. You know that the CLG bot lane plays very aggressively compared to other bot lanes. They have the highest CS difference at 10 minutes. They're basically the best laners given the stats.
They're the best lane in NA.
You want to take away just the snowballing champions, because you know if you play safe, you get out of the lane, then you feel more comfortable with Arrow outplaying Stixxay in mid game.
And it is the kind of thing where there's not that many playmaking champions in the bot lane you need to really worry about from the support pool. I mean, Nami, Karma, Soraka, even Malzahar and Zyra to an extent are a lot more focused on like quick trades and all-ins, and Thresh really is that one that wants to flash lantern gank and hook and pull people in for extended all-in. So
wow, Phoenix1 actually banning the Ashe away. They think it's super important. I mean, Phoenix1 first picked it in the first game of the series, and now they don't want to give CLG the chance to do that either. Of course, Jhin obviously left up, and it's a screaming first pick at this point, but I wonder if that's actually what they think is most important.
There's a Rengar, there's a Shenstale.
And a Camille, but it went through last time.
Yeah, they didn't really prioritize it last time, so don't really know if the P1 will pick it, but they should, right? You should always pick a... you already see Shen, right? You already know what top laner they have, you can counter top lane. But normally you would just pick jungler now and ADC, which would be the Jhin. Because you just you banned a good S tier 1 AD carries. That screams, as you said, just Jhin pick. And Arrow is really comfortable on Jhin.
And on top of the fact that Zig does have a handful of counter picks he can pull out versus the Shen. He plays Jace, he plays GP, he can play Fiora, he can play pretty much anything. So
yeah, you can even play Camille into it. It's not that good early game. Shen wins early game versus it, but then once 30 minutes happens, then Camille just was overrun. And there goes the Rengar.
All right, so Rengar in for Meteos. I know before he said he didn't know the champion very well, but it's been 2 weeks since he last played in the LCS, so maybe he's gotten a bit more comfortable on the champion. I guess it's debatable for some players whether it's the #1 jungler or not.
There's Graves.
Right, Graves is up there. Kha'Zix is close, probably not above. At least I've seen very high priority as well. So
there's this S plus tier that's Rengar and Graves, both of them there, and then there's S plus S that's Kha'Zix, and then you have other champions like Lee and Elise, right?
Yeah.
Ezreal. Wow.
And they didn't want to wait until more bans came through as well. Actually, would you like? I mean, this depends on the player's champion pool, but are you really in a rush to grab Ezreal, or is like Ezreal, Caitlyn, Sivir, like are they all in the same boat?
I wouldn't rush to pick Ezreal, right? Because if the S tier AD carries are already banned, then you don't really need to. I think Stixxay can play a lot of champions. We saw him play Sivir. Sivir is good versus Jhin. Ezreal is good versus Jhin. And then you can play Caitlyn, MF. These champions are worse. Maybe he felt like if they would pick Sivir and Ezreal, then he would be really out of place because he didn't practice those other champions, which usually happens a lot in scrims. You don't see those AD carry bans like you see this time, and that puts an AD carry main out of comfort zone.
Yeah, and just overall draft strategy, it's not too uncommon to just say, well, let's just match in the first round so you don't end up in these really lopsided ban system where it's like, okay, well, they banned Sivir and Caitlyn, so I have to pick this thing, and then we ban out, probably the top
mid laners. We grabbed Ryze instead.
Right. So instead, they're opting for more of this even, where you see both top jungle and AD carry taken for both teams.
Yep, all the same 3 roles. So we'll see what the bans end up being through. It's basically now down to supports. We know it's Ezreal on one side, Jhin on the other. Are there any predictions you think are screaming to you right now, or is there anything you're looking for synergy-wise?
For Phoenix, it screams Karma for me, because Karma is fairly good with Jhin, and it's very good with Rengar and Nautilus. The more tanks you have on your team, the better Karma is, because the shield effectiveness is just ramps up with tankiness. So that's, for me, screams Karma. It's really good versus the CLG team as well, because they can disengage if Shen TP somewhere with the Karma Mantra shield. And for CLG, let me see.
I was going to say the Malzahar makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Malzahar makes a lot of sense.
It's one of the few playmaking AD supports that's still left on the table. It takes a little bit longer. You have to get to 6 before it can do that. But then if you're concerned about Aphromoo potentially trying all in your bot lane or roaming around, taking the Malzahar off the table is pretty nice.
I want to see if they ban Zyra. I still feel like Zyra's pretty good. I know she got nerfed in 7-4, but she's still seeing a fair bit of pick ban, and it's going to be left up. I believe it was banned in the previous game, so we'll see if P1 wants to play the champion themselves, or if CLG maybe does. But No Jace allowed. Honestly, I would have let P1 grab Jace, and they're an all AD team, but that's not what CLG wanted.
Yeah, and I think the Karma pick still makes some sense here. You want to grab it before CLG have a chance to, or
Wow.
Or you're Adrian and you just play Soraka.
You just
every
play
day.
Soraka over it. I mean, hey, for the same reason, though, Soraka can heal the tanks to keep them invincible forever.
Please,
oh, I would love it. I would love it. Afro. This is actually something that makes Afro really annoying to play Soraka against, because there's always been a handful of these kind of players in the LCS where they play this one really annoying thing, and then if you ever try and take it away, they have the counter prepared. And for CLG, they love playing Soraka. So does Adrian,
Yeah.
but Afro always has
it will
this
be
pocket
only
pick.
per lane though, because if I've played, you still have Ezreal, right? But like you play versus Rengar and Nautilus, you will most likely hook one of those. You won't hook anyone else because they have such a big particles that it's very hard to hit anything else.
To be fair, hooking the Rengar is not always the worst thing. Rengar's generally pretty squishy. If he's on your AD carrier, you have the punch knock up and then the Q pull away. You can silence him as well. Like, it's not the most horrendous pick into Rengar, but I agree. It's definitely a little lane focus if they go with the Blitzcrank. I would love to see it though.
Well, let's see what they pick. I'm very curious.
I'm actually
myself.
surprised we don't see Ryze at all in this pick
Oh.
ban, by the way. Bard, okay. Bard can be aggressive.
Yeah, Bard is, or was considered very good into Jhin because he could always cancel his ult with his own ultimate, and then it just fall off. No one started playing it. It's good versus Soraka as well. So I really like this pick, and we knew that from the Afromu's career how good his Bard is, right? His portals everywhere. He carried every single fight. And I'm very excited for it.
Right, we're talking about being able to get off the lane and start making plays around the map. I mean, Bard is great for that, starting really early on. The fact that he can portal in from these weird angles, start influencing other lanes.
Yeah.
And at 6, he gets a lot of playmaking as well.
All right, so tell me, how do you play the laning for CLG? Are you allowed to leash? Right? Do you jump into the brush at level 1? Like, what? You want to win this game from CLG's bot lane. You've got some good laners. How do you do it?
You don't usually leash anymore. With any pick you have, you don't leash unless you get very pushed in and you have melee support and you can afford to leash because you will get pushed anyway. But you still don't do it because you lose so much pressure and so much priority in the bot lane that they just snowball it heavily until level 4. So you don't leash, but then CLG bot lane, honestly, I would be comfortable playing Jhin Soraka in this lane because CLG has to kind of outplay to do something around the lane. But then again, I really like this Bard pick from Afro because that's the sort of pick that CLG needs. They need something new. They need something that roams around the map, can pressure everything, has a CC, and can get carried or can carry the game, which is all they need basically from the bottom side.
Yeah, so the Bard can roam, even the Ezreal can help with the ulti, so these guys can start getting involved in the game a little bit more. Just to refocus, so this is still more picked just for the fact that they can affect the rest of the map. It's not really for the lane itself, but it allows the players to do things outside of lane and maybe help the rest of the members of CLG here.
Ezreal also being a good pick to be left 1v2, having that Q farm ability. So
it's very good versus Rengar since you can buy the armor build when you
can go Iceborne or Ninja Tabby and it's fine.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can, as soon as he jumps, you can Arcane Shift and you're pretty much guaranteed to dodge his Q. And you can kind of just kite from there. So you're right. I personally like Ezreal a lot against these scary assassins as well because I can build and I can kite. So Stixie will be pretty safe, and now we get to see how they're going to play the lane matchup. You were talking about snowballing pressure, like that no one in competitive leashes anymore because lane pressure is too important, unless you're playing melee.
Once again, like if you don't leash and you start pushing level 1 because you were faster in lane, then you maintain that pressure of pushing to level 4, where your support can recall first and do the same thing. Go mid lane, try to ward there or gank mid laner, or even go with jungler somewhere. So that's really good from the bottom lane when you get this push advantage. And I feel like Ezreal Bard can push Jhin Soraka.
Is that starting level 1? Because this is definitely a different type of bot lane. Neither of these are great pushing level 1 bot lanes. So is the advantage in the Bard Ezreal?
Soraka and Jhin, they can push pretty heavily. They should be if it would be even case, they should be pushing faster than Ezreal Bard, but Ezreal Bard has such a good level 1 that they will, even before the minions come, they will push them out, or they should be able to push them out of the lane, and they should start hitting the wave when it's coming. Yeah, so they will be hitting the wave even before it crashes in the middle of the lane, which means even though they have slower push level 1, these champions, then they will still push faster.
And just to hop on this point a little bit more, because I think this is one of the points that does transition very well from competitive to solo queue, is you don't necessarily need to have a stronger push level 1 to win the level 1 push. If you out trade really hard, you focus more on trading level 1 than pushing. So if you let Soraka queue the backline and Jhin queue the creeps as well, you will probably lose the push as Ezreal Bard. But if you just start autoing champions instead, then you win the push because you outtrade.
Yeah, given the champions you play, if you have Ezreal or Ashe, or even Caitlyn, these champions are so good for level 1 because they have a high range, high ability to just outrange your enemy AD carry and outpush them from the lane. And this is something that they were trying to do, and you can see them here. Like they should just move up and then don't let them come from here. This is a silent mistake from CLG. They shouldn't have let Arrow walk through there because they can stun him on the wall and they can zone him from Qs.
Yeah, at least they're zoning Adrian.
Yeah, they're
off,
still zoning very well.
Okay. Yeah, so get the autos first. They cut off the retreat path. You're right again about Arrow. He probably should have had to miss some of this, but looks like Afrom's kind of squaring off and grabbing chimes, and we're, just letting kind of 6A push. And he's 1v1, right? So, seeing how Ezreal and Jhin play the 1v1, I know one of the big things to watch out for in this matchup. Ooh, actually, yeah, decent trade. He's playing really aggressively. Of course, he's level 2 first. But one of the big things I've noticed from watching bot lane is one of the core priorities is standing behind your minion waves that you don't get Mystic Shot very often. And that's one of the big tells I see of like good Ezreals and good people who are against Ezreal is that you don't get to cast Mystic Shots because they're always in position for it.
There's a strict. Oh my god. Ooh, this looks. Meteos might be in trouble.
He's just dead.
Oh my god.
He didn't even flash over the wall. You just gave that one away to Aphromoo.
Well, he was in a bit of a weird spot where Afro definitely would have followed with flash as well, given the fact that Graves was in the top side cutting off a regular
escape. This was a very big mistake from Meteos because he was seen earlier from one mid lane. We saw him for half a second on mid lane where he was just passing behind his Syndra for I don't know why, but for that reason they knew where he would be and they invaded. And that once again they were using the push advantage from bottom side, and then Grace invaded as well. Arrows might be in trouble.
Yeah, well, Exhausted used early enough, but Arrows just, I guess, tricking Mystic Shot, the Q's gonna get him.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, there you see the snowball coming in the other way this time around.
This was perfect Q flash from Bard. That's one of the tricks you can do with Bard, where you just cast your Q and flash, and it's almost instant, and Arrow flash, but it's still stunned him because it catches him by the tail.
And I feel like we need to see that again because is any of this on Arrow playing it wrong? Like I want to talk about like, did 6 do something right? Like, did Arrow not respect Bard stuns at all?
Their bot lane did the bad thing that they tried to cheese for some reason. They were trying to steal the enemy red buff with the lane that will get out push and that will get out zone. And then they went the greedy path and they were getting out pushed. And they split where Adrian just had to go around and Arrow had to go straight. And that made basically a Bard roam around, get the chimes, see the Rengar, and then invade together with Graves.
And it was a very strange jungle start in general for CLG, not only because P1 was doing that kind of greedy invade, but Smithy actually started the pink ward on Graves and had one pot, and you can see that the pink ward is still available as Meteos getting caught out a little bit here.
He flashed. He didn't have to. He was actually safe. They weren't chasing him. So Meteos is actually screwing up kind of a bit, right? He got 1v1 by the support at level 2, and then he ran flash when he was actually totally safe. There's no CC left on him.
Right. Just touch back. You see Meteos showing on that pink ward right now once again. That was actually dropped basically level 1, and that's why he was getting tracked so heavily, like you said, which opened up Aphromoo to use that pressure that they got from the level 1 greediness of P1's bot lane of overstaying. And it was kind of just a slight, like, kind of waterfall of errors that led to this horrible start for P1's bot lane in jungle.
And that's why I really like the Bard pick, because then that gives the CLG the punish they can do and punish Meteos' greedy paths and greedy waves and aggressiveness in the jungle. And this is the Q flash from Bard. There is almost no way you can survive that after you get stunned. And then the Q back to damage.
Yeah, he just gets the rest of it no matter what. That's just good by Afro then. I mean, that's almost no chance to kind of play that. Whoever gets Q stunned there, finish is just gone.
And you get to see a little bit of the difference in CLG when Afro's on that playmaker. Soraka can't make that play.
Yeah, sure. That's the point of champions to kind of play. So let's again, we're going to try to focus on Stick. Say, okay, you're in the winning lane. CS is equal. You're against Sustain. Like, you don't get to poke out a Soraka lane, right? Like, is there even a point in trading, or are you just trading farm until you get another big play from Afro?
You can still try to trade the Jhin to make him a bit scared. It's more like a mind game. If you hit few Qs on him, he will be more afraid to walk up and not play aggressively. But it's really no point in poking. He's in, Stixxay is in very perfect spot right now. He can farm with Qs. He can say, Aphromoo, you can roam permanently. Arrow has no items. He has 1 longsword, 1 boot. I have tier. I have all I need for my laning phase. I have potions. You should just try to pressure somewhere else because I'm all good on my own.
And talking about Ezreal a little bit, he's not the best champion in terms of getting that kind of like early snowball going. The most he gets is that extra breathing room, like you're saying, with having his tier early in the pots. He's not the type to necessarily start running over a lane the same way some of the other armor pen champions can be.
Yeah, he only got an assist anyway, so that was like 75 gold.
Right.
I mean, I guess Arrow misses part of the lane, so there's some XP differences. Stixxay, I want to point out, is going Fervor. I think Fervor Ezreal is easily
Very
correct,
strong, yes.
even regardless of like a sustained matchup. Fervor stacks it, or he stacks it really fast. It applies on his Q, and you are safe in general.
The only way I would go Warlords if I would play against Caitlyn Nami, for example, that would be very rough lane for me. Then I would consider playing Warlords. But then again, in this meta, you go 3 potions on AD carry, so that should be enough for you as a sustain.
Is there ever a time not to go 3 potions longsword or 4 potions boots?
If you have if you play versus an all-in lane, let's say if you play versus Trash, or if you play
Leona or something.
Leona, then you really need to get that HP from the Dorans. Blitzcrank, for example, to these all-in champions, or even AD carries, you need to play Dorans versus them.
Good job, Afro.
Afro just roams everywhere at this point.
Well, yeah, I mean, some of that's Bard and some of that's, again, the fact they had grabbed Ezreal earlier on in the draft to make sure it was kind of safe. So unfortunately, quick pause in the game. We'll talk about more of what's going on later. So yeah, I guess let's talk about the state of the game we're in. It's snowballing a little bit. It's a 700 gold lead right now for Phoenix1. Overall, CLG is winning. Now, in the previous game, Meteos was like 7-0 5 minutes in, and it was just like, if you don't feed, you win the game for free. This is a game where Stixxay has an individual small lead. Like most, the advantage is because of bot lane. Does this, you know, it feels like Stixxay needs to be part of the reason that CLG wins. So how do you sort of achieve that goal?
Definitely. If you are able to push and then call your support to roam because you know you're on your own and you're good, as if you're playing Ezreal or Caitlyn, those champions are very good in 1v2 scenarios, so you can never deny them because of the range.
Right. As
Ezreal, you can always farm with keys. So at that point, you should always tell your support you should be roaming or grouping with your jungler. We saw several times where Xmidi and Afro were together at least 4 times before level 5, which is at this point insane amount of time they are together, and they were punishing Meteos' greedy jungle path, warding around so he can gank, and then that just puts him so much behind, and you don't even fall behind as Ezreal. Like you can't really get ahead in this lane because even if you get the perfect race, it's Soraka again, they will just heal up. So at this point, at some point you have to realize if you play versus lane where you can get ahead, you have 2 options. You have either tower damage, that you will focus on hitting the tower and chunking down the tower and then go for the first break, or you will say support, put some pressure mid lane or jungle because we can't get ahead.
I just want to touch on a couple more plays that might be available for this team and what your thoughts are on them. You do have a Bard and a Shen, who are 2 champions who are great at diving bot turret early.
Oh, yeah.
You ult the turret as Bard so that there's none of that coming in. Then Shen ults a diver. The hard part is the fact that you have the Syndra versus Orianna matchup in League is a very kind of interconnected game, and it's really hard to get mid priority with that matchup for CLG playing the Orianna. So do you think it'd be better coming into, starting to get level 6s in the game if Afro moves elsewhere on the map to snowball, or if it's better to bring the resources down bot lane and get a dive off?
It's very good to move mid lane, either with support, Afro having the lead from the laning phase, or with Smithit jungler, he can just Q the wave, push with Orianna, and then they all move together to bottom side, that bottom side. But that's very telegraphed, and then that way, like they're trying to do it right now, and they're trying to pressure Orianna. Then again, Stixxay, I'm fine bot lane. Just do whatever you have to after move, roam whatever you want. I can be 1v2.
Yeah, and hey, they pushed Ryu off the turret, so that's good stuff for him. And yeah, he's just, and the thing is, like, I think this is different if Adrian's playing Leona.
Yeah.
Right? And if Zig's actually Shen. Like, suddenly he's instantly dead.
Yeah, it's just the fact that he blind picks Soraka, and then the perfect pick from Afro for Bard. He's known for it. He knows what he can do with it, and he knows this is the lane that Adrian cannot do anything, right? He can never engage on enemy Ezreal. He can never catch him, and he can never roam. Soraka roam is super bad. Yeah. If you roam as Soraka, you're just living ambulance, right? You just go mid lane, heal mid laner, and that's all you can do.
Yeah. So the CLG kind of creating a situation that puts Stixxay in a decent spot.
Now they're stealing blue buff once again, just with the pressure that Afrom gets. And Afrom gets to play the fun role. Stixxay is the guy that has.
You don't like shooting Qs? Q that?
Yeah, it's true. It is kind of unfortunate we got into a game where really the bot laner, specifically the carry, hasn't been the biggest impact here. It's just Stixxay, doing the best that he can. And I'm sure, in solo queue we have those supports, whether they're playing Nunu or whether they're just not very good at the role and they got autofilled. They're not.
At least we have a really good supports.
It's a really good support who's not in lane. So it's like, at least it's the lesson of how to play 1v2 lane at the very least. And it's like, yeah, he's willing to give up farm. Like, he's been zoned out a couple of times. but as soon as the wave is gone, he just shoves it back, and then he again plays around the wards. He's almost never by himself. Like, he's not going to be past the midpoint in this rush. He's there with Aphromoo. Afro's back in lane with him. He like cues the fog to see if someone's waiting. And again, he's just...
The only thing P1 can do is freeze the lane, but then again, all Stixxay has to do, hey, they're freezing lane on me. Come back bot lane, Aphromoo, and let's push out together. And then they just start roaming again.
And I think it shows the importance of patience in this meta. We've seen 2 games basically where the AD carries did not have to play super aggressive or try and push advantages. There's a lot about waiting for their team to follow up on an Ashe arrow that you're about to hit, or sitting back and farming with Qs while your support goes around and tries to get other advantages. So I think you can kind of see how important it is in this meta to not just be that hyper-aggressive, hard carry that AD carries used to be in the past.
And now we could have seen Aphromoo and Stixxay play very passively, which is very good from them, because when you look at the minimap, you see Smithy cleaning his topside jungle.
Yeah.
So at that point, you always have to play according to your jungle as a bot laner. If your jungle is topside, you can never look for trades, you can never look for aggressive pushing. You have to wait till the jungler is around you, around the bottom side, and then you can start playing aggressively. And that's just showing that the CLG bot lane very much understands the game and how they have to play the lane.
You have, a lot of League of Legends is windows of power. Like, okay, Graves on the bot side. Afro shows up to help steal blue buff. He's got the wards down. We control that eastern jungle. Okay, well, Smithy's top side. All right, we're going to be back in lane. We're going to play behind. We're going to let them push us in. We'll just catch the farm when it's there. Let's not be diveable. In this ebb and flow of we can invade, don't die. We can invade, don't die.
And I actually very like the mana movement from Stixxay. Usually you get a Sheen on Israel, but in this lane, once again, even if you would get Sheen, it's very hard to do anything. Even if you hit every Q with the Sheen, Soraka will just heal through it. So buying mana immune and making it basically happen that, okay, I can win this lane, I will just go the most scaling build I can and stack your mana immune so much faster. That's very good from Stixxay.
And it's enough AD you can last it under turret without prepping it. You don't have to Q to kill the casters, you can just auto-attack it. I was going to ask about this control ward because Stixxay ulted and he sees that brush is control warded. Does that make you have to play the lane differently? Like, ooh, they might be sneaking Zig or Meteos into this lane? Or, as it turns out, they're able to shove and kill it off anyway, but does that change you sometimes?
CLG bot lane, once again, they recalled first because they pushed the wave. So when they came back, they knew after arrow pushing that there is an 80% chance that the bot lane had to recall. There's like very little chance, 20% chance that they didn't recall with boots and 2 longswords. They were trying to cheese them and all in them. But that's very little chance given the
It's a big risk
items.
to take.
Yeah, it's very big because then if they play safe and they don't get cheese, then you just basically lose tower.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean that's the thing is there's a lot of fog of war play in League of Legends where you're like, well, if Arrow chose to hide in that brush and sneak Meteos in, I guess it could have been a play.
That was a zoning ult.
Oh, W over the wall at a great time.
Nice.
That was really good communication by CLG there. The fact that the ultimate was already coming in on Stixxay, who brought Shen into the play so that no one had to burn flash there really to follow up on that play at all. That's actually really well coordinated that Darshan did not go on Aphromoo, who was starting that play. Sometimes you just go to like the most vocal guy or the closest one at the start, but they had a really good angle there with Stixxay coming with the flank to get Darshan delivered right on top. And they're trying to pressure the turret now with this pick-off, but it's going to be pretty hard.
Yeah, Stixxay actually pulled aggro, had to run away, and now he's just kind of supporting Darshan, who's getting away from this, but now he's got to be very careful. A lot of damage on him. Took the 4th shot as well. He's still got a kite back, but he can Q, lands one more, and then he's ulting pretty much on cooldown in these fights. Like, it's not, it is a sniping tool, but it's not like the execution tool. You just want to cast it when it's going to hit somebody.
Yeah, it's a very good, again, if you can poke someone with your ultimate at this point, it's really good. Oh,
that was a big shockwave.
Jeez, yeah. And that was all Stixxay.
Yeah,
sure. But yeah, once again, if you have in this lane, if you can poke someone else, you should even be ulting mid lane. You know, when I'm looking at Ezreal play Bang and he plays versus a very heavy sustain lane, let's say Name, I even see him sometimes use the ult to either try to steal blue buff from jungle or red buff when they know that the spawn of the blue buff, or just trying to poke an enemy mid laner or top laner if they have no potions with the ult. Because then again, if you poke them, you just get healed.
Take another look at this play. You see.
Yeah, Stixxay push forward onto Arrow.
Darshan tries to save him.
Yeah, it was just a little too aggressive by Darshan and Stixxay trying to flank around from behind the turret when Zig can TP in and your Orianna's not close. It still ends up being a 4v4 after the TP in.
But then they turn it, who is coming, and then the poke from Ezreal, which is really good at this point. Soraka is not in lane to heal them, and then here they overstep, they feel like they can fight, but...
That ball, everyone forgets the ball's there. They just lock onto it.
Bam.
And Wish doesn't do enough for them. And yeah, I mean, Six actually did Arcane Shift into the end there. He realized the team was up like ahead enough that he's just kind of putting as much damage down as he can. But again, he's just like, he's got to participate. He'll put down what damage he can. He wasn't the big star of that one, but it's like, you know, I'm safe enough. We'll go for it. He should get away, Afro.
A slight mistake from Afro losing a pressure, or if he's too smart, baiting Arrow to play aggressively because of this mistake.
Yeah.
But Arrow should have played safe there, because if support does this, you know
someone else is there too.
Someone has to be there. Like at this level, your support doesn't do that on purpose.
Yep. And again, it was another aggressive Arcane Shift from Stixxay, talking about exactly how he's playing the matchup. He's like, this guy's dead for sure. I will maximize my damage. I'm not going to risk a wish save. And now he's going to roam over to try to help the team in the river, but they're fine.
And then again, this play just was very easily set up by Xmidi and Frmu. They grouped together in the river, cleansed the vision that P1 had, put their own vision, and then they tried to set up this play, which Arrow just didn't respect enough.
So talking about Ezreal being a little different than some of the other utility mid laners, or AD carries that we see now, is that a lot of people actually don't like putting it in the 1-3-1 quite as much. Or you know, having your AD carry hold mid quite the way you see Jhin and other things, and maybe I'll hold on to this point as we might see a dragon fight here. Nope.
The portal. Oh, portal.
So 5v4 as they're trying to pull in the Ezreal. There's no Nautilus, no TP as well.
Trying to fight.
Yep, and he just, all right, once, and what's interesting is I want to point out the timing of Stixxay's ulti. He does it when he knows that he's in a stuck corridor, there's no way that Ryu dodges this anymore, and it's when the team is actually going to go fight someone.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's going to be Ryu. Okay, I'll ult now.
But just returning to the point now that about sending your Ezreal mid, I know some people are not a big fan of it as much as some of the other utility AD carries. What are your thoughts on putting the Ezreal mid to hold on to things? I mean, you probably wouldn't do that much with an Orion anyways, but just generally, is Ezreal a little safer in the side lanes, things like that?
He's obviously a little safer than other AD carries in side lane, but then you will still put the Ezreal mid lane and play versus the enemy AD carry, because Ezreal is really good. When it gets to the point where both bot laners will be mid lane, then Ezreal is so much better than Jhin, because he will push out Jhin, and he has such a fast follow-up on something. Jhin has as well fast follow with the ultimate, but Ezreal is at this point where he always pushes Jhin in, and then Jhin has to wave clear the wave, and then he can follow.
Do you think this is a mistake by CLG, kind of putting we're taking a look at this dive first actually, baiting Arrow in was Afro, right?
Yeah.
Taking that chunk.
Yeah.
Arrow staying under that turret is silly.
It's just, they just rotated from mid lane after they get mid priority, and there's nothing they could have done.
But the fact that they didn't keep Stixxay mid the way that you're saying it's fine to keep your Ezreal mid there, do you think that was a mistake because it allowed P1 to pressure mid while also taking the bottom turret? It was Arrow who took that right then, and Stixxay all he did was push in the top wave. Do you think maybe that was a mistake, that syndrome that sometimes comes into AD carries where there's like, oh, there's a wave there, I can farm that wave?
Yeah, that was a slight mistake. It wasn't mostly on Stixxay, it was mostly on teams. I saw some staggered recalls. They didn't recall together, so they didn't really, they lose a lot of pressure if you don't recall together. But then again, if Stixxay would have been mid lane, they wouldn't be pressured mid lane, and then if Arrow is trying to push bottom, then Stixxay can just disappear into the bottom side of the river. They knew that there was no vision from P1 when CLG cleaned the vision when they were trying to dive. When we saw the dive on Arrow, they knew that there's no vision because they cleansed it, and then just disappearing simply into the fog of war is so much. It helps you so much to defend objectives. So if you're playing AD carry mid lane and you push away, always try to bring your own pink ward, put pink ward somewhere and hide on that pink ward.
See Stixxay return now to the top side once again. Wants to get this turret
They want to get
badly.
the turret, yeah.
But this time he has the support of Bard and Graves, who are roaming up to the top side as well, helping get some vision.
At this point, it's really good because they set up a very good vision around mid lane and top lane, so they can Arrow cannot push for an Adrian. They can't push mid lane because it's very hard for them to do anything and overextend. But here, Darshan just overextend, didn't respect the split map right now. The vision you have, you know that the jungler has to be bottom side. He can be in the red side jungle or in the blue side jungle, but he has to be bot side. You would see him top side otherwise.
Yeah, big mistake by CLG there. One, because of the split map, and two, a lot of people just generally like to attack the global lane as opposed to fighting somewhere else. As Arrow gets really chunked out mid, he's going to go down.
He's gone, yeah.
Oh,
that's 1 for 0, and Adrian's next. Jeez, 2 for 0, and okay, True Shot Barrage helped a bit, but yeah, it's just the chase down now. It's going to be Stixxay joining in with the team. His team is healthy enough to stay alive. Meteos no ulti. And then he's, okay, maximizing damage up on the Rengar. He knows Rengar can't jump him. Does he respect the leap? Looks like he doesn't have to. And Cinder ult's down, so we actually can feel pretty good about anything except Arcane shifting forward. Because if he does, he dies Nautilus Q.
Yeah, but then again, this is a failed play from CLG when they die. Darshan dies bottom, where he is overextending so much. He should never be in that position. And then top lane, Stixay is alone, and they start fighting mid lane. That's the reason why you put AD carry mid lane at some point of the game, because you always want to fight around him. He's usually, when you play VODS, Jhin, they're not mobile enough to be fast in the team fight. Ezreal is slightly more mobile, but still, you see what happens when they force a team fight mid lane and Stixay top side. It takes him such a long time to get to the team fight, and they are just fighting 3v5.
Absolutely. So, we reset of the map, and it's still this 2,500 gold lead, almost 3,000 gold lead right here. CLG feeling pretty good. Unlucky for our hero here, Stixay. He's one of the lower KPs in the team, so it's not... I mean, it's basically, it's Xmithie and Aphromoo hard carrying the game. The 8 out of 9 kills on those guys, and they're just opening up all the options, right? And it's up to the rest of the team to follow up, it seems. And they're following up well. I mean, Stixay, like, do you think there's any like mistakes he's making this game? Do you feel like he's playing the game appropriately? He's in the right place when he can be?
It definitely feels like he's playing pretty well. We talked a little bit about maybe some lane allocation problems or reset timings, but like you were saying, Freeze, that's much more of a team thing. I'm sure if Stixay wasn't alone, like, I'm going top, I don't care about anything else. That's probably not what the communication was like.
Right now, I would like put Orianna to catch this wave and put Ezreal bar top mid lane with the jungler, get pressure mid lane, and get vision around either top side or bottom side, depending on what they want, and make sure that these lanes push to us again. So I don't really like this Ezreal going top lane.
And actually, it feels like this lane's going to push away from CLG, maybe, because it's meeting on his side of the river. So CLG's minions in the top lane get reinforcements first.
He has to go there top lane now and push it one more.
Yeah.
To be able to push it towards them. Because at this point, you're so ahead as a CLG. You have 2 fight rakes that you should always get vision and always make the lanes push. You have to basically, the way you do it is, if you have a 6 minions or 6 minions, you let some of your minions die, mainly the melee minions, and then you fast push the wave as fast as possible. That will make sure that the next wave will be very deep into the enemy map, and that it will push towards you. And that's how you want to manage your side lanes, because that way enemy will have to go to the side lane and out-push the side lane, otherwise they lose farm.
Very aggressive call here by CLG. Basically, they knew that P1 was positioned around the bot side, trying to force the Mountain Drakes, so they are set up around the top side and trying to trade that for Dragon.
Staying onto it, but it's 5,000 HP. I don't think they can actually finish this in time.
Orianna can. Maybe zone. Oh, nice flash down.
Wow, that was beautiful. Yeah, he's just gone immediately. The ults come through, and they've already picked up 2. And they're still splitting focus, like Darshan and who you're fighting. That's what you're doing Baron. This feels a little strange, but Mita's getting chunked out. I guess it's going to work for him.
You get to see the weaker Jhin. And he also went for the more scaling build. Maybe a mistake, not able to actually finish off Darshan there, who gets the Baron recall off, TP's back in. And CLG, aggressive call going for the Baron, but it worked out.
And you see, once Jhin ulted, board instantly ulted, and the best ability that Jhin has in long range got immediately cancelled. That's why Bard used to be such a good pick into Jhin, and then he couldn't do anything.
Gives him the portal. They are going to go for the dive still. They really want this. A flash Q ignite. That's going to be the kill picked up.
That's
and meanwhile,
a lot of damage.
Stixay's just pushing the mid lane. So he spent that fight auto-attacking the Baron. He rushed an Executioner's Calling, by the way. I want to point that out. Muramana,
That's
Trinity Force, rush Executioners because he's against Soraka, because he's against Rengar, who can self-heal. Even a summer heal from Arrow. And he's just like, all right, he is... And there we go, again.
Assassin
when they know it's free, when they know it's a 3v1, he can arcade shift forward and go for the fight. And
Stixay plays very patiently, but when he sees the window,
all spells forward.
Already goes in.
Yeah.
So that's a very good Ezreal play by him.
Yeah. And I feel like, I want to really talk about all the decisions that he's been making this game, because, I mean, now it's snowballed to this 23-minute win at this point. But it's I mean, if they can close one out, I think so, 2, now 3 dead. Meteos can't get onto the bot lane marksman at all, so it's just CLG mopping up.
Yeah, huge comeback game here from CLG. Struggled very heavily in game 1, but looked like P1 is basically in their situation from last game. They got kind of destroyed in the jungle support synergy.
And that would very much was Aphromoo doing, because he was just roaming everywhere, tracking the jungler and then killing him level 2. So you don't wanna get killed by a support at level 2, you know. You really don't.
Yeah, that tends to not work out too well.
Yeah, that doesn't work out well, and then he got killed again. And that's just basically from Aphromoo CLG punishing the mistake they saw P1 bot lane do, zoning them out of the lane, and then basically transferring that advantage, and just knowing that hey, we can't get ahead in this lane. Let's get ahead everyone else.
And talk a little bit about how annoying red buff can be, because Aframu did pick that up off of Meteos after he killed him. Did you think that influenced the bot lane at all? I mean, it is a Soraka lane, so you might heal up that extra burn damage a little bit more than other lanes.
The red buff, first red buff, is 1 minute longer, so that's...
Not anymore. They're all 2.5 minutes now.
Oh, really?
That got changed in this season.
Okay. Still, it's a red buff, right? It gives you health regen, that's very annoying, and then auto attacks on board that has a very high range, whereas there you see the board ultimate instantly, so Jhin can't do anything. Beautiful Ezreal ultimate to zone out, and then all they should have done, they can just flash down and Orion.
And Styx is maximizing DPS. He Arcane Shift queued in to help get the kill, but he's otherwise been focusing his effort on the Baron. He's Wing Smithy, and he's just saying, no, I'm part of the part that's finishing Baron. Those two are zoning off. And Stixxay, again, he has to choose. Do I max DPS Baron to get the objective, or do I go for the fight? And he's only sent a couple skill shots towards the fight. The rest of it, he was part of the DPS focus. And then when they know the fight is free, he can Arcane Shift forward.
And if you want to be critical of him, he did burn his heal on Graves, who healed up from the smite anyways. A little unnecessary. Yeah, if you want to be really critical for no reason, you can do that.
Yep. All right, so 4-0 on a Stixxay. Ruin King, by the way, as your third major item, I think is always correct on Ezreal. It's just it's such a good scaler. The poke, the on hit works.
Huh? It got buffed as well, so...
Yeah, it's good.
It was always a core item on Ezreal.
It's getting buffed in 7.5, I know that.
Yeah, it gets you the extra mobility. If someone engages you, you steal their movement speed, say, hey, I'm fast, try to catch me, and you just kite them around, and they can't really kill you. You have the extra lifesteal, and your Q procs the blade passive.
So 12,000 gold lead means it's pretty much free for CLG, but talk to me about how you play this siege. Do you have to be afraid of Nado's ultimate, or can you play up with the Qs?
So I really like CLG right now grouping, even though they have Shen. Usually when you get Baron, or when you're like this strong ahead, if you group as 5, you will always get something. And then there's this famous Baron rotation to get an inhibitor tower.
Yeah, well, the super minis in mid already got the first Nexus turret in the first place, so they're just kind of...
what are they doing?
There's no turret, they can win the game. The Nexus is open. And again,
they can kill Sigrid.
It's about Stixxay, gets the ult off onto 3 people. He's not going to Arcane Shift until he's in danger, or there's a free kill to come in. Durable enough to not die to Ryu, I guess he's all right, but he's playing it so far back, he's still afraid of getting jumped on by Ryu's stuns. You can see him playing this really far back.
Now Rengar jumped in, so he immediately jumps. He sees that's how you play teamfights, right?
Yeah.
If you see the enemy assassin jump onto someone else, bam, I can go in.
That's when you go.
And that's what you see. He played behind and safely all the time until he saw that Rengar jumped someone else, and then he immediately knows, I'm no longer in danger of getting one shot or getting really low. I can go in and just carry the teamfight.
Yeah, and so a deathless game from Stixxay, no Hex Drinker, no Ninja Tabby, against a Syndra and a Rengar. Like, that's not easy to do for your average player. Most of us would probably die 5 times or so against Syndra Rengar. Mark points to himself. I'd have 15. And so it's why I'm always trying to refocus on, like, but Stixxay's doing exactly this. And in the last team fight, if we get to watch it again, I'd love that. He almost never Arcane Shifts forward until there's like a shockwave pulling someone in. And okay, I guess I'll kill the Nautilus here.
Yeah, he did the one mistake of getting all in by Syndra ultimate.
Yeah, he tanked that ultimate
one. But then he played very well. He was kiting with the key. He was waiting till Rengar jumps. He was hiding behind his teammates because the Rengar ultimate, someone has to tank it because of the crit from the Rengar ultimate. And then when he saw the jump, he just jumped in immediately, and that tons of damage, kills everyone.
And to be fair, a little to Stixxay in that last fight, CLG's formation got really kind of broken up because they overextended on Zig trying to kill him, and then Afro ulted, and then they wanted to get the people in the Bard ultimate after they came out of it, but that opens up Syndra on the side to kind of aggress onto him. So
half of the team wanted to finish, half of the teams wanted to keep it safe, just finish.
If they're far enough ahead, it doesn't matter, but it's not really Stixxay's fault. The fact that Syndra could walk into ult range against him, you should have your front line doing a little more.
Suddenly no front line. It's like, well, Syndra can flash army, so what do you want me to do? Well, it is a game to win by CLG, tied up 1-1. Let's now send it over to our analyst desks. They're going to break down that game overall.